I really wish we had had time to do this one in class. This is page 23 because there are quite a few of these on the practice tests. So I definitely would watch this once or twice just to make sure that you know how to do these. I'm going to give you the problem sets that I'm going to use over here in the margin, and that way you can go back and practice these again if you want to. The first one is going to be 26 over 8 equals a question mark. You can use an X if you want. 3 1/5 is a question mark. I want us to compare 2/5 and 3/6. And I want to do that two ways. Let's go ahead and put that here so that I can remember to do that. Then we're going to add 6/10 and 9/15 to get a number. 3/4 minus 1/8. 6 minus 9/10. 6/8 times 4/12. 4/5 times 3/8 times 2/4. And then 6/8 divided by 5. And 5 1/4 divided by 2/3. So we're going to do these examples, and then you should be okay on the practice test. If you can do these examples, I think you will be fine. So the first two are going to go with the red door. Let me highlight them so you know. This is an improper fraction. This is a mixed number. So we're going to convert, first of all, this improper to mixed. So if you go ahead and open that red door, it's going to tell you how to do that. If you're going from improper to mixed, you're breaking down. You're going to divide, subtract, and reduce. So to do this one, and this would go inside the door, you would have 26 divided by 8. 8 into 26 is 3 times, and 3/8 are 24. And that's a remainder of 2. So your mixed number is going to be 3 2/3. So the 3 is the quotient. And I'm sorry, I've already made a mistake. It's 3 2/8. The 2 is the remainder. And the 8 is the denominator you started with, which is also the divisor. Then to do the 3 1/5, we're going to go the other way. And it says to multiply and then add. I would anchor this one with this little backwards arrow. And we're going to have multiplying in here and adding up here. So this is 4 times 3 plus 1. That's 12 plus 1 is 13. And you keep the denominator. So 3 1/4 is equal to 13/4. So this one we're going from mixed back to improper. So those are in the red door. quite a bit there. Okay, the green door. We are going to compare fractions, and I'm going to show you two ways to do it. Since you have the calculator, I want to make sure you know both ways. All right, this is without the calculator. So the first thing you want to do is write your fractions vertically. And then look at your denominators. You have a 5 and a 6. So we need to find the greatest common factor if you want the lowest common denominator. I'm just going to use a common denominator because I'm just comparing them. So I'm just going to say 5 times 6 is 30. And then we're going to build these up to that common denominator. So 5 divides into 30 6 times, or let's do it this way. 5 times 6 is 30. So 2 times that same 6 is 12. 6 times 5 is 30. That 5 on the top, 3 times 5 is 15. So we could say that 2/5 is less than 3/6. Okay. So that's one way you can get the common denominator. If I'm taking a test and I have a calculator, I'm not doing it that way. Here's what I would do. I would do 2/5. That's 2 divided by 5 on my calculator is 0.4. 3/6 is 3 divided by 6. That is 0.5. So I can still tell you that 2/5 is less than 3/6 by comparing those decimals. So you can do it either way. If you like fractions, you can use the common denominator. But again, that goes in this green section, comparing fractions. And let me just highlight it all because that gets confusing. Okay, let's look at the orange one where we're going to add fractions. And we have 2 of those. So let me highlight. Got this one, and I'm sorry, we just have 1 of them. Okay, so we're going to say 6/10 plus 9/15. So 6/10, 9/15. And I could use 10 times 15. That would be 150. But there's a much smaller one that will work here. Remember this process where we find the least common multiple. 10, 20, 30, 15, 30. So you see how they both have the 30? That's the common denominator that I want to use. And then we have to build them up to use that common denominator. So 10 times 3 is 30. 6 times 3 is 18. 15 times 2 is 30. 9 times 2 is 18. Now, if we were comparing these, they would be equal. But we're not. We're adding them. So we end up with 18 plus 18. That's 36. And we keep the 30 on the bottom. But do you see how this is top heavy? It's improper. We need to go ahead and simplify that. So the first thing I'm going to do is bubble it and reduce it. I'm going to reduce by 6. 6 into 36 is 6. 6 into 30 is 5. And then I'm going to convert it to the mixed number. So I'm going to say 6 divided by 5. That's 1 time with 1 left over. So that is 1 1/5 as your final answer. That's horrendous to me. I hate fractions. I would much rather do it the decimal way. But if they want us to do fractions and they're forcing us to, that is how you would add fractions. All of that goes into adding those two little fractions. You must have a common denominator. Okay, the blue one, we are subtracting fractions, so we have 2 of these because they're a little bit different. So under that blue door, let's do 3/4 minus 1/8. So again, I want to write them vertically because I need a common denominator. I know that both of them will go into 8. If you want to list the multiples, you absolutely can do that. But you know they both will divide into 8, so I would just go with that. That is the least common one. You could also use a 16, but the 8 is smaller. So, okay, so we're going to build them up. We have 4 times 2 to get 8. So 3 times 2 would give us a 6. 8 times 1 is 8. And 1 times 1 is 1. Be careful, you're not adding them. You're taking away. So 6 minus 1 is 5, and you keep the common denominator. And that one's done. It can't simplify anymore. Okay, I did want to show you one of these because sometimes you do have to borrow with fractions. So let's do 6 minus 9/10. So I'm going to write them vertically. And it looks kind of funny because there's not a fraction to take that 9/10 from. So we have to borrow 1 from the 6. That leaves us 5. And the one that I borrowed, I'm going to rename it as 10/10. 10/10 is 1 whole. The 5 plus that 1 whole is the 6. But once you've renamed it, you can subtract so that you have 1/10 and a 5. So sometimes you have to rename one of the whole numbers into a fraction, and you just use whatever denominator you already have. So all of these relate to subtracting fractions. To multiply fractions, we're going to do 2 of them. Don't have to worry about a common denominator on these. These are my favorite of all of them. Because not only do you not have to do a common denominator, there's a shortcut for multiplying. So I have 6/8 times 4/12. So for multiplying, you want to write your fractions horizontally. Okay. And you can go ahead and do top times top and bottom times bottom to get a very large fraction. Or you can cancel. And to cancel, we're going to work this way. Let me go ahead and highlight it. 6 and 12 can both be reduced by 6. 6 into 6 is 1. 6 into 12 is 2. And this process is called canceling. It only works with multiplying. If you go the other way, the 8 and the 4, you have to work diagonally. You can say 4 into itself is 1, and 4 into 8 is 2. And then you multiply. Top times top and bottom times bottom. And that 1/4 is your final answer. Okay, to do the longer one, we have 4/5, 3/8, and 2/4. 4/5, 3/8, and 2/4. So we're going to multiply. We need them written horizontally. Now, as long as I'm working diagonally, I can cancel. So look at this. You see those 2 4s sitting across diagonally from each other? Those are ideal because they cancel each other down to 1. 4 into 4 is 1. 4 into 4 is 1. You can also cancel this way. 2 into 2 is 1. 2 into 8 is 4. You can't do anything with the 5 and the 3, but this is still much smaller than it would have been. So 1 times 3 times 1, that's 3. 5 times 4 is 20, times 1 is 20. And that's your final answer. So those, I'm sorry, those should have been yellow. Those are multiplying. Let me do the rest of it in yellow so you can tell. All right, then we need to divide. Division is a little tricky, so I'm going to do 2 of these. And they're pink. Okay. My Apple Pencil has stopped responding, so maybe it's dead. If so, I can charge it quickly. I don't think it's dead, but let me give it just a bit of a charge. We're almost finished. Nope, it's not dead, so I don't know what's happened. Oh, I do. The tip is loose. Sorry about that. It's getting a little cantankerous. Okay, let's do 6/8 divided by 5. And the steps are written here for you. That's a good way to follow it. It says to write the fractions horizontally. And we need to put a 1 under this 5. It needs a denominator. You flip the fraction that follows. So the leader will not change, but I'm going to flip this one over so that we get 1/5. The proper name for that is finding a reciprocal. But you just flip it, you invert it. And when you flip it to do the reciprocal, you also change your sign in the middle. So you're moving to multiplying. That's the reciprocal of division. And then once you do that, you're back to canceling if you can, which we cannot. So I'm going to say 6 times 1 is 6. 8 times 5 is 40. That will simplify, however. How about a 2? My brain's a step ahead. 2 into 6 is 3, and 2 into 40 is 20. And that is the simplified answer. So with division, you have that extra step of finding a reciprocal. And that's a little bit tough to remember. You have to go ahead and remember to flip. Always flip the fraction that follows. Okay, the last one that we need to do is this 5 1/4 divided by 2/3. So before I can do anything else, I need to get this into an improper fraction. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21 over 4. Don't change the denominator. Divided by 2/3. And so I'm going to flip. I have 21 over 4. Here comes flipping the fraction that follows, 3 halves. And when you flip it, you change this to multiplication. We can't cancel, so we just have to multiply across. 21 times 3 is 63. 4 times 2 is 8. This is improper, so we need to divide it on through to get the mixed number. So we have 63 divided by 8. 8 into 63 is 7 times. That's 56 with 7 left over. So we get 7 7/8 as the final answer on that one. And those are examples of each of the operations. There is a practice set that goes with this one. It's practice set 14. So I will be doing them on there if you want to watch that video. But this gives you examples and steps for each of the types of fraction problems. There is a lot in this page. Lots of steps, lots of things to remember. Remember that we do offer those tutoring times in the afternoons if you need to come see us in the classroom.